If you want to follow along with this tutorial, set your Subharmonicon up like this. Okay, let's turn up Sub 2 on VCO2 and have a listen to our sequence. Step 1's a C, E, G, and a C. C major triad. Okay, let's turn that off and turn on Sub 2 on VCO1 and we'll do the same thing. Have a listen. A, C, D, F sharp. Let's play it. D7. And let's put them both together. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Let's turn down all the oscillators except for Sub 2 and turn off Sequence 1. So we're going to focus just on Sequencer 2. Now I'm going to plug a cable into VCF EG out as well as the trigger out so that we can watch the CV on the scope. These patches won't affect the sound at all. It's just so we can see what's going on. Now turn the VCF EG fully clockwise all the way up and the cutoff all the way down. Push play and let's have a listen. I'm going to start by taking a look at the VCF decay, so slowly turning it up. And we can see as well as hear how it's affecting the filter. Once we get to a certain point, the decay is not fully falling back to zero. Sort of the same thing as just turning up the cutoff and having less envelope amount. Alright, let's put the filter back to where it was and VCF all the way up again and decay all the way off. And now we'll do the same with the VCF attack, once again slowly increasing. It's a fairly linear response. Now the cool thing about the Subharmonicon's envelope is the attack is not re-triggered with every sequencer gate sent. So you can hear as well as see what I was just talking about. The envelope is still rising when the sequencer sends every second trigger. In fact, it's just dropping right as the second trigger fires, so we're getting a little clip sound. As I increase the attack time, now we're getting 2 notes. Gentle, there, now we've got 3. Oh, missed it. Well, you get the idea. This is very sensitive, and it's a fun way to get some variation in your sequence. Now it's in time. Yeah, add some decay. Cool. Now, if we keep increasing the attack time, it's going to get more and more sort of random as the attack time is much longer than the actual sequence. Once again, it's a great way to add some variety or randomness to your sequence or pattern. That's kind of cool. Got a 6-note pattern going now. So, once again, if you're careful, you can dial in even more polyrhythms without having to change the sequencer. Try to get a 3-note pattern. And let's turn on VCO 1 and sequencer 1 and have a listen to our patch now. So you can hear that the envelope is totally free running. It's not being affected at all by the second sequencer, or the first. Cool, I like that. Sounds great. Okay, so if you've gone through the included Moog patch book, you've probably noticed that one of their favorite patches is to patch the sequencer out into the cutoff, so let's take a listen to that. I don't hear a difference. That's because the sequencer out is attenuated so that the sequencer notes are constrained to 1 octave. So if we unplug it, yeah, still no difference. So at the moment, the CV out from the sequencer is too small to make an audible difference. But we can change that. If we long press the quantize button here, and let's go back to ±1, our notes will still be quantized, but the CV out is unquantized, so you can hear how sequence 1 is affecting the filter. Sounds pretty cool, but if you've got drastic pitch changes in your sequence, the unquantized CV might be a little over the top. Kind of is now. This is a Splix, a passive mixer attenuator. I use these in a ton of different patches. I'm patching the mod source, sequence 1 CV out into the Splix. With only 1 cable plugged in, this dial here acts as an attenuator, not a mixer, so I'm plugging this cable into the Splix and into our mod destination, which in this case is the cutoff or the filter. All right, let's hear it. So I'm slowly adjusting the amount of modulation sent to the cutoff from the sequence. No modulation, about halfway. Sounds good there. Okay, let's hear it without the modulation in. Big difference. Let's try sequence 2. The Subharmonicon has quite a few more modulation destination options with VCO 1 pulse width and VCO 2 pulse width, as well as the VCA. We've got the rhythm inputs. We've also got transport controls and, of course, the clock. Fun thing about modular is just patching things and seeing what happens. Another great thing about modular, of course, is adding other modules to expand your synth. Fancy function generators, clock dividers, quantizers are all great, but we often overlook the less sexy utility modules like attenuators, inverters, and mixers. There is one module that's got almost all of those functions packed into one little 20 HP package, and that, of course, is Make Noise Maths. On to the next patch idea. So I'm going to mute oscillator 1 and turn off sequence 1. So we're just listening to oscillator 2 and sequencer 2. And I'll take the trigger out of the Subharmonicon and patch it into trigger input on maths. And out of maths channel 1 into filter cutoff of the Subharmonicon. So maths is now an envelope generator and channel 1 is now the VCF EG amount. So let's listen to the decay. With the exception of shape control, behaves pretty much exactly like the envelope on the Subharmonicon. Now let's try attack. And same thing, behaves pretty much identically to the envelope generator inside the Subharmonicon. It's not being re-triggered with every gate signal sent. So if they're identical, why bother then? Well, we've got shape control on the maths envelope generator, which we don't have on the Subharmonicon. But more importantly, with maths, we have CV control over the rise, the fall, and both at the same time, something we definitely do not have in the Moog Subharmonicon. So I'm going to put channel 4 of maths into cycle mode, which turns it into an LFO, and take channel 4 out, and I'm going to modulate the attack of channel 1. Here we go. Now, the attenuator on channel 4 controls the amount of modulation sent to the attack. Let's slowly dial that in. Nice slow LFO at the moment. Let's leave it on full so we can hear it. Now, another cool thing we can do is we can take the clock out of the Subharmonicon and put it into the trigger in of channel 4, and now it's going to sync our LFO. Well, at least sort of. Analog sync is always a little weird. Let's just take a minute to dial in something we like. Now we're getting somewhere. Put the other sequence back in and turn on the other oscillators. That's pretty cool. Let's attenuate a bit and maybe play with the shape of the envelope as well. Lots of options. Let's see what happens if we modulate both rise and fall at the same time. Oh, that's pretty nutty. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's experiment for a bit and see what we come up with. All right, let's see what happens if we modulate just the fall. That's cool. Cool, you get the idea. Let's unplug that for a second. And reset our envelopes. And take sequence 1 CV out. I'll unplug this first. Take sequence 1 CV out, plug it into channel 2, out of channel 2 into the attack input. So now sequence 1 is modulating the attack of our envelope. course, we can invert that as well. That works a bit better. Okay, let's take sequence 2 output, plug it into maths channel 3, and out of channel 3 we'll go into the fall of channel 1. So sequence 2 is now modulating the decay of our envelope. Once again, we can invert or attenuate, do whatever we want. Nice. Let's switch the sequencer to ±5 again, octave range. Yeah, I really like that. Play around again. Pretty sure I can get lost in exploration with the Subharmonicon more than any other synth. So much fun. Now we've got one empty channel on math, so let's plug a cable into out of channel 4 and plug it into the VCA input of the Subharmonicon, keeping it in cycle mode. Now we're going to get some amplitude modulation. I think a lot of the time amplitude modulation works best with a simpler sequence, so let's simplify this a bit. Nice, that's cool. Let's see what happens if we modulate the pulse width of oscillator 1. That's okay, let's try oscillator 2. Wow, that's dramatic. Wow, that's pretty cool. Another great idea would be to use maths as a clock divider to modulate the rhythm input so we get variation in our sequence, or use these logic outputs. There really is a lot of more options we could do with these two modules, a ton of more patch ideas that we'll have to save for another video, but for now, I'll show you one more idea I've got. So I've got a molt cable here. I'm going to plug it into the sequence 1 clock output and the other end into the trig input. The other end of the molt's going into the scope, and I'm going to do the same with sequence 2 clock output, plug into trig input of channel 4, and I'm going to take the sum output and plug that into the VCF cutoff of the Subharmonicon, making sure that my VCF amount on the Subharmonicon is at 0, and my cutoff is about halfway for now. So we have independent envelopes triggering a shared filter. The attenuator of channel 1 is sequence 1's envelope amount. And channel 4 is sequence 2's envelope amount. So if both envelopes are modulating the filter in positive direction, it's going to be very similar to what the Subharmonicon can already do. But once again, we can invert with maths. Now that's cool. go to extremes. Once again, pretty easy to get lost. Okay, that's not all. We can still do some cross modulation. So let's take channel 4 out, plug it into channel 2 input, so it's going to work as an attenuator, and out of channel 2, and we're going to go into the both input of envelope 1. Nice kind of quirky, chirpy patch. Okay, let's do some more cross modulation. We'll take the out of channel 1, go into channel 3, so attenuating again, out of channel 3, and let's modulate channel 4's both as well. Even quirkier. Of course, we can do the same thing with any of our sequence outs. Okay, let's see what happens if we modulate just the attack of envelope 2. Well, you get the idea. Just try patching a whole bunch of different things and see what happens. And hope you have fun. Thanks for watching.